do the vote item first.
All right, everybody, we're going to get started with the meeting. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Roll call. Councilmember Willard.
Here.
Councilmember Morell.
Here.
Councilmember Harris. Present. Councilmember King. Councilmember Green. We have 3 members. We have a quorum. Looks like Councilmember Hughes is here to join us.
He's observant today. Thank you. Can we move into approval of the minutes from the April 7th Community Development Committee meeting?
I'll move.
Moved by Councilmember Harris, seconded by Council President Morell. All in favor, say aye. Aye. 3 yeas, 0 nays. The approval of the minutes has been adopted. All right, to everybody here today and tuning in, we have members who have to go to other things. So what we're going to do is take up the vote on this item before we get into the presentations. But before we do that, and Commissioner Temple, if you want to come down to the table, you and Chris, y'all can come down. Thank you. So today we're here to talk about fortified roofs. One of my proudest wins in the legislature was dealing with the fortified roof program, guaranteeing that anybody with a fortified roof gets a discount on their homeowner's insurance, and also making sure that this fortified roof grant program at the state level was a permanent program. As a result of our work and the commissioner's work, Louisiana has become a national leader in fortified homes. For us in New Orleans, it helps us tackle the insurance crisis, the affordability crisis, our aging housing stock, climate change, and extreme weather events. For those who are not too familiar with fortified roofs, they basically protect our homes from roof uplift, which is when the roof comes off, and water intrusion. So it's a worthwhile investment. The state program provides up to $10,000 for people in coastal Louisiana to put a fortified roof on their property. And what we are going to be doing today is using funding from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which was championed by Councilmember Leslie Harris, to provide gap funding for people in the city of New Orleans. So although you get that $10,000 grant from the state, in many instances you still have to come out of pocket to cover the full cost of the roof. And so what we will be doing is setting up a sliding scale up to 120% area median income, up to $5,000, which typically is going to cover the entire roof on the home. According to a report from the legislative auditor last year, median homeowners who received the state grant saw a reduction on their homeowner's premium by $1,250. They also saved an average $213 out of pocket from storm losses. Basically what we're trying to do here is help the city of New Orleans, really the greater New Orleans metro area, reach a point of market saturation. I think that is about 25% of the properties in the area. And once we reach that point, more insurance companies will be interested in covering in the greater New Orleans area, which will bring down premiums for everyone, even people without those fortified roofs. To date, the Louisiana Fortified Homes Program has helped fund about 5,600 fortified roofs across the state, and about 1,700 of those have gone to houses in the New Orleans area, actually in the city of New Orleans. Something to note is we have about 35%, I believe that's right, Commissioner, 35% of the recipients of those roofs from the state program, but we also have about 35% of the total population of people who do not move forward with the grant for whatever reason. We know that here in New Orleans, a big part of that reason is because people do not have that gap funding. So we're hoping to clear that gap today. We're going to hear from Commissioner Temple example, we're going to hear from Councilmember Jennifer Van Vranken out of Jefferson Parish, who set up this program first in Jefferson Parish, and we're going to hear from some other stakeholders who are working on this issue in the city of New Orleans. So this is really an exciting day for everybody in the city of New Orleans. Based on everything I said, I would like to move for adoption of this motion. And I don't know if any council members would like to speak. Councilmember Harris.
Well, I first want to thank you, Councilmember Willard, for championing fortified roofs in the state legislature. I know that this is going to make a big impact on our overall insurance rates in the city of New Orleans. And I'm glad to have a partner in you to make sure that the Housing Trust Fund is a success. As you know, money for fortified roofs is something we always intended to be part of the Housing Trust Fund, but this goes a long way in having additional money allocated to that particular cause. So today's motion shows how the Housing Trust Fund Advisory Committee has worked to ensure affordability in the city of New Orleans by implementing the Housing Trust Fund. And I want to thank my current and former colleagues on the council for supporting the Housing Trust Fund, and I know that I can count on their support in the future. So thank you, Councilmember Willard.
Thank you, Councilmember Harris. Council President Morrell, and then we will go to Councilmember Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank the Commissioner for being here today, as well as the hard work you've done with former legislator, now Council Vice President Willard, on this issue. I do think that anything we can do to ensure that efforts taken by homeowners actually reduce rates is fairly important, and I don't want to understate how difficult it is as a commissioner, as a legislator, to pass any legislation to make insurers lower rates, because God knows they do not want to do that. So the fact that working with the commissioner, legislator Willard was able to have and create a program where individuals affirmatively doing something to fortify their homes, to make them safer, to make them more insurable, will actually lead to reduced costs is nothing short of a fantastic feat. So I appreciate all the work y'all have done working together. I appreciate our continued work as a council with you, Commissioner, and trying to find ways where homeowners can help themselves and the city can help them help themselves. Thank you, Mr. Vice President, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Council President. Councilmember Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me publicly acknowledge the great work of this esteemed chair, Matthew Willard, who I had a front row seat, as you know, Mr. Commissioner. I sat next to him on the House floor for 6 years. I saw no leader more diligent on fortified roofs than Matthew Willard, and you are a great partner every step of the way. So I want to publicly thank you for your leadership and for your partnership. I'm not a member of this committee, so I want to thank the chairman for his graciousness, and I'm going to be quick because I know we have to move on. But I do see Miss Lee in the audience, and you know, I just got to say, when this comes before the full council, I'm gonna hold my nose and vote for it. But District E is not feeling the love of the Housing Trust Fund. I have a lot of homeowners in District E who are struggling, who are one storm or something away from not coming back to this great city. And so while I appreciate that this is a GAP program, we're going to have to be more intentional, because if I'm not mistaken, every council district contributes to this Housing Trust Fund. But the new shiny buildings are not going up in my district, and Lord knows my homeowners are not feeling any love from the Housing Trust Fund. So I'm going to challenge the Housing Trust Fund Advisory Committee to think outside the box and to remember all of the retired teachers, all of the retired city workers, all of the retired state workers, all of the retired postal workers who live in my district, who are struggling and who can benefit from the Housing Trust Fund. And if you want to pilot a fortified roof program in District E, I want to put on the record that I welcome it. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your great leadership, and I look forward to a more robust, intentional effort for District E, who continues to feel left behind. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilmember Hughes. I share your sentiment and certainly want to work with you and the Housing Trust Fund advisors on whatever we can do to push New Orleans East forward, push all of District E forward. Before I call up former Councilmember Kristen Palmer for public comment. I just want to specify the funding mechanism here. So the portion of money that we're using here for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund comes from the additional revenue that we recognized earlier this year. So when we recognized that additional revenue, the general fund increased, which meant the allocation going toward the Affordable Housing Trust Fund had to increase as well. That total pot was about $1,270,000. The housing advisors decided to split that up into two different buckets. And so this fortified roof gap program for homeowners up to 120% of the area median income will be funded to the tune of $635,000, $375. So I just wanted to clarify that. Kristen Palmer, if you want to come up and if anybody else out there wants to weigh in on this item, please fill out a card and let my team know.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me. My name is Kristen Gisselson Palmer. My address is 222 Villette Street, New Orleans. And please forgive me and call me if I go over 2 minutes. Almost 50,000 homes are located in New Orleans historic districts. The definition of an historic home is any home over 50 years old. 70 to 75% of all New Orleans housing stock is over 50 years old. Historic homes are affordable housing, and housing in New Orleans is unaffordable due to our rising insurance costs. The average Orleans Parish homeowner's annual insurance premium is $4,447, and we have not enough insurance providers. In order to bring down rates, NOLA needs a concentration of fortified roofs, as we've already discussed. This has been proven in Alabama with their fortified roof program. In Louisiana, if a homeowner wins the lottery and they cannot fulfill the cost of gap funding, the grant is put back into a pool that does not guarantee it would go to another homeowner in Orleans Parish. In October of 2025, the Preservation Resource Center was awarded $125,000 from Travelers Insurance to make sustainable repairs on historic houses that are part of our Revival Grant program that repairs homes of low-income homeowners. Our goal is to keep our people in their homes and neighborhoods that they love. And I want to thank this council for approving, especially under the leadership of Councilmember Harris, for money that went towards this very important program. I engaged with the Louisiana Department of Insurance back in November to see if they would like to create a program with us on their fortified home program. In February, we entered into an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with the Louisiana Department of Insurance, in which they share the contact information of everyone in Orleans Parish that has been granted a fortified roof via the lottery. The PRC then contacts the recipients, and if they wish to participate in our gap funding, we then further qualify them to ensure they're 80% AMI or below.
Can we grant another minute?
Hello? Great, thank you. After we qualify them, we then work with the Louisiana Department of Insurance to ensure the homeowner has gone through proper channels of certification. Obviously, 3 bids of qualified roofing companies and an inspection process. We pay the gap funding directly to the roofing company after LDI processes their payment. In addition, we are also able to provide other repairs that are not covered by fortified roof. If a homeowner needs additional gutter work, if they need a fascia replacement or siding, we can also pull from other pots of money to ensure that those items are also done. So far, within 3 months of creating the program, we've completed over 7 roofs, costing a total of only $26,000. From our side. This is smart leveraging of resources, and we now have enough to complete over 20 more homes with the remainder of the $120,000. In closing, we support the motion number M26241 to amend the Housing Trust Fund 2026 budget to include funds for fortified roof gap funding and homeownership construction subsidies. I would also say in closing that we are fully in support of the 120 AMI, as I do believe the AMI level is not reflective of what the true cost of housing is in the city of New Orleans. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, former Councilmember Kristen Palmer, and thank you for the good work that you and your team are doing over at the Preservation Resource Council. I also want to reiterate something what Kristen was just saying. When somebody in New Orleans gets the grant and then decides to not move forward for whatever the reason may be, that doesn't mean somebody else in New Orleans gets the grant. It could go to Lafayette, it could go to Monroe, it could go to any of the eligible parishes. So that's the gap that we're trying to close today. We have another card from Mr. Ron Major. I was actually going to mention, Ron, how you guys are having a tougher time selling homes because
yes.
of the insurance premium.
Absolutely. I mean, the insurance, as everyone mentioned here about the rates, not just for existing homeowners, but people trying to purchase homes. They go through the process to become homeowners in New Orleans, and then at the moment where they get the insurance quotes, they balk. So they can't afford the insurance. So not just existing homeowners, but new New Orleans homeowners. So I think a lot's been said about the insurance rates, which there's a lot of research behind it, and the program in Alabama has been very successful. So I'm glad that Louisiana is leading the charge with that. But the second point I'd like to make is also with housing resilience. We can't stop storms from happening. They're going to happen. Okay, so but after they pass, we can't have as many empty homes as we've seen in the past. So homes with fortified roofs can go back into use again immediately after a storm. The ones without the fortified roofs are more likely to sit there empty, as we've seen maybe 20 years, right? It's been 20 years since Hurricane Katrina, and some of them are still empty. So that's one thing that certainly helps the market, the tax base, when you have homeowners sitting there paying their property taxes, and houses that don't sell on the market just hurt the community also. So not just the real estate value of the person trying to sell the house, but their immediate neighbors, the ones a block away. Buyers are always asking, why is that house empty down there? So the less empty houses we have are also a better thing. So the Board of Realtors, or the NOMAR, the New Orleans Metropolitan Association of Realtors, definitely supports the charge here. We supported the Fortified Homes Roof Program at the Louisiana Legislature this year, and we support each of you, and thank you for your leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Andronica Morris.
Good afternoon. Andronica Morris with the Greater New Orleans Housing Alliance. We are here today to stand in support of this motion. We are incredibly grateful that the council is seeking to invest more in addressing the biggest issue that the people of New Orleans are facing, in the insurance crisis. This is something that is incredibly important to maintain all of our quality of life issues, right? If people can't live here, they can't pay their taxes. This is no longer a city if its people cannot remain in place. So we are really grateful, and that this is coming through the Housing Trust Fund also means that there's even more urgency to move the trust fund, to get the CEA signs, which have not happened yet, as we are making directions to the administrators to deploy these dollars as quickly as possible. They need those documents signed. They need clarification around when the dollars are going to be delivered, so that the people of New Orleans know when these funds are going to be available. We just opened up another round with the Fortified Roof Program, and I think it would be really great if folks knew that when these dollars would be available in this new Fortified NOLA program and the existing allocation and appropriation that would help even more people. So we are appreciative that you all are heeding the call of your constituents and understanding. There's been some questions about the trust fund being disproportionately leveraged in this way. I think it is appropriate that the most pressing issue we have right now, this insurance crisis that's displacing homeowners, that's displacing renters, that's preventing large-scale investment from taking hold, that be the driving force of the New Orleans Housing Trust Fund. So thank you all for doing this, and also we urge you all to get the CEA signed so we can so we can get some clarity on when the dollars are going to be out on the street. Thank you again.
Thanks, Andronica. Renata Collins.
Hello. Good morning. So one of my biggest concerns is that from operating in the community concerning the last time the fortified roofs was made available, is that they're not seeing a significant decrease. So although there is a grant that is in place, the difference that they're paying in their insurance is not sufficient enough to have the gap. So my overall objective is to say, how would we make sure going forward, when a person put this fortified roof on their home, that it's still making a significant change? Because the grant, the way I understand it, it gives a portion, and the homeowner is then responsible for the remaining balance. So even if they receive the deduction in their insurance, the cost that they still paying for the remaining part of the roof, it's not as sufficient. So I want to make sure that as we're moving forward with this fortified roof program, that it will definitely make a big difference. And I do understand, in addition to, we do have some ISOs. That's what the water main breaks and how the insurance is going to go up to as well. So although we are appreciative of this money, we also want to make sure that it's not just a put into place, but it's not really giving a real relief. So I would love to hear more how they will ensure that a relief will be in place for all of the homeowners with this here program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. And Morgan Clevenger.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. I know, Matt, you've been a champion as a legislator and we really appreciate that. But we also know, as previous speakers have mentioned, there is a fundamental flaw in the structure of this lottery. We know that the actual data of who's gotten a roof is very minimal, especially in Orleans Parish. Myself, I've tried 5 times to win the lottery, and I've tried to help my neighbors and friends do the same. I know of no one in Orleans Parish that has won this lottery and been able to get through the process. And the fundamental flaw that you are trying to meet is the requirements of the GAP financing. You better have that money. Most fortified roofs these days, even for the smallest homes, start at $15,000. And go up to 20, 22, 25. So we're leaving a lot of people behind, because in this last 5 years since Ida, many people have lost the ability to pay homeowners insurance, which is another requirement of the lottery program. So we need to do much more to invest in our seniors, our most vulnerable population, the people that have held down this city, and this is their only asset. They are living in very difficult situations. And we need to make sure that we are creating programs. I'm saying 1,000 roofs in every council district. Let's invest back in the people, stop chasing the hotels and giveaways and tax credits and all these things we want to give away. Let's make sure our people are strong, that they can survive the next storm, and make sure we're investing back in them. We appreciate what you're doing. Let's keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clevenger. That is all the public comment that we have on this. Oh, we got one more come in. Daisy LaGrue.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daisy LaGrue with Housing NOLA. One question that I have and want to put on the floor, especially while we have Commissioner Temple here, is the benchmarking that was announced earlier this year. So I would love for us to hear more about how this new funding and program allocation will tie directly into that. What's going to be the measuring mechanisms that we're going to put in place to ensure that as the funds are going out the door, we're directly capturing those roofs, capturing that investment, and how it's going to have a direct impact into the benchmarking.
Thank you, Daisy. All right, council members, that's all the public testimony. I'd like to move adoption of this motion, and I have a second by Council Member Harris. All in favor? Aye. That is 5 yeas, 0 nays, and the motion is adopted. All right, so we will now proceed with the agenda, and we are honored to have our insurance commissioner here with us today, Tim Temple. You heard a lot of public comment. I'm sure you'll weave in responses to some of that. I think you have a presentation for us, right?
No presentation.
Okay.
It's not a presentation.
Okay. Well, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, if I lapse into representative, I apologize. First, I want to start off with, I want to thank you for the leadership that you brought when you were in the legislature on all things insurance. I think it's undisputed that your passion for trying to help improve the insurance market for all Louisiana citizens is there, and will remain there. So thank you for that. And you've also carried that on to the council by the actions that your committee just took, helping the Fortified program. Louisiana followed Alabama's program, which you were aware. You were in the legislature when the law was created. Alabama is by far the most successful state with over 60,000 fortified roofs after a 12-year period. Of those 60,000, about 8,000 of those are through their grant program. Louisiana, as you mentioned earlier, after 31 months, has over 6,000 fortified roofs through our grant program. It is immensely popular. There's a lot of demand for it. And beyond the demand, there's a true need to build more fortified structures. We live within proximity to the Gulf, which means hurricane force winds are going to blow. We need to build more resilient, and the fortified roof is the long-term solution to that. One of the things that we've seen through this program, in November of last year, I think we initially had 500 grants, and then we were able to increase that to 1,000. We had over 10,000 people sign up to be considered for the grant program. Wow. So it is popular. There's also a large percentage of people that fall off of the grants. And every time that happens, that's not a number, that's a homeowner that won't have that ability to fortify the roof, protect their property, protect their assets, and also get a discount. And we'll get into that as well. So
what are the typical reasons people fall off and don't go through the full application process?
Sure. So, and we don't track why they don't. That's not, because sometimes they just don't answer. They don't ever respond back. Some, they aren't able to get the documentation. If you live in a flood zone, you have to have flood insurance in force. You have to have homeowners insurance, wind in force. Some people don't have the homestead exemption. We've actually been working with the assessor here. The assessor, right? And I'm sorry, I've got Chris Chernauskas, my chief of staff, can answer any questions too. But they have been working to make sure people get the documentation they need. Some people don't have the gap funding, quite frankly. Last 2 years ago, the legislative auditor audited the insurance department's program. The average savings was 22% discount, and that's substantial. But the average replacement cost was around $12,000. So there are a lot of times people don't have that gap. So that's why it's important that programs like the one that y'all are acting on today help people bridge that. We currently have Louisiana is the nation's leader in fortified roofs. Everywhere I go, and I was just recently in Washington, D.C., that's half of what they want to talk about is what Louisiana is doing. I can tell you other states call Chris and the team that work on the fortified program and ask how we're so successful because they want to emulate it in their other states. So Louisiana is being talked about in a very positive way with regards to fortified roofs. And again, and a lot of that is because of your leadership in the legislature and here on the council today.
I think I read something today that said the Institute IBHS said Louisiana is like the fastest rising in fortified roofs on commercial properties. Like they saw a huge increase on fortified properties with the standard in large part because of Louisiana.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes, Louisiana, we're hitting a lot of really good benchmarks on that. Again, the gap funding is important. That was part of the reason people are falling off of it, and programs like this help them not fall off. I am a believer in the lottery system. And I know there was a mention that the numbers don't seem proportionate, but I can tell you, not by design, because it is a randomized lottery, but the grant applicants or the grant awards fall in line with about the same percentage as population. You said New Orleans has about 35%. They have about 35% of the grants. It's not programmed into it because we don't do that. It's more a mechanism of the more people from this area sign up for the grant, so therefore you're going to get more grants awarded. And it's nothing beyond more than that. So we look at that to see if there's some kind of disparity, and we haven't seen that in the system.
And I actually think when we first stood up the grant program, it was kind of, first come, first serve. You had to get into the queue. If you were lucky enough to get into the queue, then you were selected for one of the grants and could go through the process. And the issue on that front was if you were in an area that had slower internet speeds, you were basically barred from an opportunity of getting that grant. So I thought the pivot to the lottery system was the most fair way to go about it.
Well, and again, in conversations with you and other legislators, when I came into office in January of '24, that was one of the first things we did. Some men or women may be working offshore and don't have access. If the lot, when it opens, and if you're not at your computer right then,
And when does the current?
We're currently in the, I forget the round, ninth round. It's open June 1st and it will end June 19th.
Okay, so everybody, you still have until June 19th to apply for the state fortified roof grant.
Correct.
June 19th.
And then we will start notifying people the 22nd of June that they have received the grant.
Okay. Councilmember Hughes has a question.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioner, thank you. And look, I know this program continues to get better and better. And one thing I can say on the record, you've always taken legislative feedback into consideration. So thank you for that. Have you all ever thought about, so let's say there's only, 3,000, I'm just pulling a random number. Let's say there's only 3,000 grants available.
That is actually the number for the
That's the number
right now.
All right. And how many parishes are included in the?
It's the coastal parishes. That is another thing that when I came into office is we shifted it from being statewide to focus on coastal. And
what's the rough number of parishes? Just rough number.
I should have that number off the top of my head. It includes all parishes that are either in the coastal zone or in the 130-mile-an-hour wind zone.
It's like 20.
So I would say it's around 20.
So let's say it's 20 parishes, right? Have we ever thought about a stratified allocation, like based upon population? So we'll allocate this number of grants to Orleans, this number of grants to, to make sure every parish gets a piece of the pie, because right now you could have a much smaller parish, right, getting a much higher proportion. And look, we want everybody to get a piece of pie, and I know this is complicated, but have we ever thought about that?
We have not done that, but again, in the spirit I've always been, it is something that we would look at as we continue. I'm always trying to modify and improve this program. Yeah. And I think that is worthy of consideration to see. What I would suggest is let us look and, again, make sure that the way the randomized system is going, that some areas not being adversely or, the opposite, benefiting greatly than others based on population. So we can take a look at that, and I'm not going to tell you, no, I'm not even interested in that. I think that is worthy of us looking at.
Look, I know resources are limited, and all of our residents, no matter whether you live in Orleans Parish or Jefferson Parish or St. Mary Parish, everybody deserves a piece of the pie. And so, well, thank you, Commissioner.
And again, and thank you, Council Member. With your district specific, there are, and I can tell you, Louisiana is a unique state in the way that we have worked with other stakeholders to find additional funding. With the GAP funding, again, Alabama doesn't have anything like this. Mississippi just started their program. They don't. They're looking at it because they see how successful Louisiana is. So specific to your district, there might be an opportunity to partner with some of the groups. Insurance companies are allocating money, we've heard earlier. There are other nonprofits, other charitable trusts that are allocating funds, and so I would encourage you, and if we can help put you in contact with
I'll give you a call, and I'd love to work with you all on it.
And you might find something specific, that might be willing to target your area for some additional funding.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chairman.
And Commissioner, I was going to mention, in Louisiana, we do have some great nonprofits who stood up and started doing some of this work as well. So in the New Orleans area, we have Rebuilding Together, we have the Preservation Resource Council, and we have People's Housing Plus. So we have nonprofits who stepped in to help some of our most vulnerable communities in the city of New Orleans.
Yes, sir. The PRC has been a great partner. We're happy to partner with them. They work well, and I think there's a lot of other groups out there that we could do the same with. So.
And Commissioner, I think we buried the lead. I mean, the reason this is so timely today is because in addition to the $30 million that you pulled down in funding from the legislature for the fortified roof program, you also was able to structure a deal to get an additional $50 million. Is that correct?
That's correct. We just did a bill signing 2 weeks ago where we have an additional 50 for this. it won't be a fiscal year. We'll spend it all within the
I'm
year.
sure you will.
But we will have a total of $80 million. That's 8,000 fortified roofs. We will surpass Alabama's grant program in 2.5 years over what they did for 12. It took them 12 to get to. So again, Louisiana is a leader, and we appreciate all your efforts towards that.
And I think it's just so important to highlight that because there are going to be a lot more opportunities for people in the city of New Orleans to successfully apply for the Fortified Roof Grant Program. So I encourage everybody, if you're eligible, to submit the grant and enter the lottery system for this round, and if you guys do another round later in the fall.
And the $50 million, that money will be available September or October of this year, and we will immediately do another funding round because collectively, we all want as many fortified roofs as quickly as possible in Louisiana. And if I could just mention, we're looking to see if there's federal money available. We've had conversations with state leadership trying to figure out some other avenues for additional funding. But whether it's federal, state, local, or a combination, that can't be the solution, the end-all, be-all for fortified roofs. We need to have discussions about improving building codes to fortified standard, making sure that any new structures going forward are fortified. And if I could just briefly mention the benchmarks. That was something that was discussed.
Hot topic here.
It is. And we've had, when you were in the legislature, we had some conversations around mandatory benchmarks. This year, we have instituted a benchmark, and we tiered it: Southern Louisiana, Central, and Northern Louisiana. The Southern benchmarks, we're going through the process of promulgating those rules now. Those will become effective January 1st. Insurance companies can still deviate, but the benchmarks are moving upward from what the averages are right now. And we did that, if I can, by saying that we worked with catastrophe modelers. We now have over 13,000 fortified roofs. We let them look at all of that data, and I feel comfortable going to the industry and saying, you need to go back and sharpen your pencil now. Before, we didn't have a lot of data for them to do that. Now that we're getting more and more, I feel comfortable saying, go back and sharpen your pencils. And people are going to get these discounts. And look, and I've heard the comments, and I've heard them before, and I heard it again today, that people get a fortified roof and it's not the discount that they wanted or they think that they're entitled to. There's a lot of factors that go into that. And we've seen this, you have a home that gets a fortified grant, they may have a 20-year roof that has been depreciated down to no value. And then you put a new roof on, so that's a $10,000 or $12,000 or whatever the ultimate cost of that roof is. That is now part of that policy value. So the insured amount is actually going up.
Because the property value.
You're right. So that is part of it. But I want to make sure people get the maximum discount available. I am committed to that. I think the benchmarks are the way to go. And I'll be open. Look, if this doesn't work in 2 years or 3 years or whenever that happens, if that's not working, we need to look at do something else. But talking with other commissioners, looking at other states, I think this is the path that gets the most insurance participation with the maximum amount of discounts that you can bring.
And I know my time in the legislature always said, if a homeowner is going to make that investment into their property, essentially de-risking their property, the investment on the insurance agency side, then they should reap the benefits. We put that language actuarially justified in the first bill that mandated the premium discount for the fortified roof. So I'm happy to hear that we'll have higher benchmarks coming out at the beginning of next year. So thank you for working on that. Members, do you have any questions for Commissioner Temple? Councilmember Green.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate you being here. I just wanted to kind of add to what was said earlier, and I want to talk to homeowners in general to remind them that sometimes if you don't get the premium that you need from your existing insurer, that you can take advantage of the market and ask. And I have seen successes in that regard. Sometimes it helps with your present insurer to see that you might consider going somewhere else, because someone who's been with you for a while, for 25, 30 years, might not be as inclined to give you the maximum discount possible for a variety of reasons. but sometimes you can leverage your ability to talk to others to get what you need done. So I just want to encourage people to not to not say to others that there's no opportunity to get the discount that I think is necessary. Just take advantage of the opportunity to talk it through, negotiate it, and consider someone else.
Well, and thank you, Councilmember Green, for bringing that topic up. You know, I say that people work hard for their money. They need to make sure the insurance companies work just as hard for you to spend your money with them. And that means shopping your insurance. And a lot of times, I understand it's easy. The path of least resistance is to renew what you have with who you're with. I don't make friends in the insurance industry when I tell people to shop their insurance, but it's the best for the consumer. Make the insurance companies work hard for the dollars that you're going to spend with them.
And insurance companies shop their reinsurers too, so they understand that.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilmember Green. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, thank you for being here today. I know it's a trek down from Baton Rouge, and thank you for your work on this, along with Councilmember Willard. I do have a question. As you were talking, I was on the form looking at the requirements. And as we know, and as I think Councilmember Hughes said, that there are a lot of folks who may not be computer savvy, that may not have the documents that they need. Do you have any workshops around New Orleans specifically, but around Louisiana that people can go to so that they can upload their documents and fill out these forms?
That's a great question. We do not. I can tell you, though, that the team at we have a dedicated group of people that work on this Fortified program day in and day out. And right now, anybody, when they have a call, they have a question, they can call, and they will literally walk them step by step, page by page, form by form, on the computer to help them. And I know a lot of times it's difficult for people to upload documents.
Yeah.
And from everything I'm told, our team spends a lot of time doing that with people. We do not have as you ask, a workshop or a place where we could help people learn that. I don't know, and Chris, I don't know if you want to opine. You work with the team day in and day out.
Sure. Chris Chernowskis, Chief of Staff, Louisiana Department of Insurance. When we get phone calls, when we field phone calls from people that have problems, whether it's being computer savvy, whether there's ADA issues, whether it's an elderly person, we are able to reach out to them on a case-by-case basis, and we have people at our department, so we walk them through that process. We've done things with the commissioner where we've had pop-ups before or throughout the state. In these areas, it's 25 parishes too, Councilmember Hughes. You asked the number of parishes. I got that. It's 25 parishes. But throughout the 25 parishes that are eligible for the Fortified Home Program, where we explain the process as well too. So as they arise, we address those issues.
Yeah, I think that, and we've seen this in other instances, be it with Entergy and elderly people not having access to computers, not being computer savvy, having to upload, not having a scanner or the technology. I think that it's important, and maybe not for this round because we're getting close to it, but for the next round, partnering with someone like the PRC, partnering with our libraries, partnering with our churches to make sure that people have access to this technology. And if not, then I do think you should consider paper applications, which I know is a pain in the neck, but sometimes our elderly folks are more able to get the documents to you via paper versus using a smartphone or using some other technology. So I think it's important to make those considerations as we're trying to expand this program.
Well, and I think that, again, it's a good suggestion, and again, we're always looking for ways to improve the process and help those that may not be getting the help they need. I think that we can work with some of the nonprofits, the local nonprofits that maybe have more interaction and more touch point there, and perhaps use them as a source to help through the application process. So we will take your comments and see what we can do to help.
And anything that any of us can do to help with that process or connecting you to nonprofits that work with our elderly specifically, we're happy to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, and Commissioner Temple, I'll say as a former state representative, I know, the zip code 70122 was fully covered in District 97, the district I represented. It had one of the highest percentages of recipients of the Fortified Roof Grant Program. So my office dealt with a lot of constituency troubleshooting issues. And what I'll say is your department, your staff always was there to help. Also, whenever a member of the legislature from the New Orleans area wanted you or one of your deputies to come participate in a town hall, you made yourselves available. So I would say, if we identify issues where we may need to bridge a skills gap, we can work together with your team because in the past, at least, your team has always been willing to step up and help out however they can.
And we would be happy to extend that same courtesy to council members. If you want to do something in districts, we'll make sure to have resources available.
Okay. Councilmember King.
Thank you, Commissioner, for coming down. I know it wasn't not a short trip. This is a short trip, but you took time out your day to come out here and explain this to us, so I appreciate it. And I also want to thank you for all the work that you've done on this project. It crosses party lines, it crosses racial lines. Everyone's affected by hurricanes. Everyone's affected by insurance rate increases. So thank you, and also to Vice President Willard, thank you for your leadership in Baton Rouge and bringing that leadership to New Orleans is definitely needed. And I just hope whatever's needed on my end, count me in, and I'm very proud to be helping this not young man, but Vice President Willard on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, fellow young council member. All right, Commissioner, anything else?
I just want to add that, we stand ready to continue to improve this process. Louisiana I cannot stress enough how much Louisiana is an outlier in a very positive way with the Fortified Roof Program, with the grants, and I know you're going to hear from the council member from Jefferson Parish.
Up next.
That was a big step, and now we have other parishes, not just Orleans and Jefferson, but other parishes looking to emulate what's being done here. We can all work together, state dollars, local dollars, if we can get some federal dollars allocated, industry dollars. There's a lot of money, and there's a lot of people that want to help with this program. So again, I'm going to say thank you very much. I stand committed to work with you to make this the best program that the country has seen. And again, thank you for letting me be here today.
Well, Commissioner Chris, we're very grateful you guys came down. Thank you for your leadership on the Fortified Roof Program. The City of New Orleans looks forward to continued partnerships with you guys to protect our housing stock and bring down insurance costs in the greater New Orleans area. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jennifer Van Vranken, you want to come down? Welcome. Okay.
Thanks for being so helpful in this challenge. It's phenomenal.
All right, and to everybody tuning in and here today, we'll hear from Jefferson Parish Council at Large member Jennifer Van Vranken. The reason that I invited Councilmember Van Vranken to come down is because she stood up this program in Jefferson Parish, which was actually the first local fortified roof program. And one of the amazing things is that conversion rate, basically the number of people who enter the fortified roof process and follow it all the way through to completion and having the fortified roof on their property, Jefferson Parish, through their program, was able to increase that number to 86%. 86%. For New Orleans, it's about 54%. If we were up to 86%, that would mean about 1,000 additional fortified roofs on properties in the city of New Orleans. So, Councilmember Van Vranken, thank you so much for coming down, and thank you for your partnership on this issue.
Thank you very much. Thank you for helping to originate the Fortify Homes program at the state and providing the $10,000 grants that make all of this possible. So we knew that Commissioner Temple explained that fortified roofs are our way out of this insurance crisis, and it is crushing all of us homeowners. And so we knew that we needed to improve the rate at which we can put fortified roofs on homes. And that would bring more insurers back and bring those rates down and provide relief. So LDI was amazing. Commissioner Temple was open to partnering. Chris Tranauskas was amazing, his whole staff. And we said we'd like to do a pilot and we'd like to bring some gap funding to the table. Because what I heard over and over, and I would imagine you're hearing the same thing, is, well, I got the $10,000 from the state, but my roof is going to cost 15 or 18, and I can't afford that additional cost. It pains me to hear somebody say, so I'm giving the $10,000 back to the state, and they don't put that fortified roof on their home. So we said, how do we try to make sure nobody in our parish is turning that money back into LDI, and we can support a little bit with our skin in the game and get them across the finish line, and use the $10,000 and use our additional gap funding and have another fortified roof. So that was the theory that we put forth in the pilot, and LDI said we're in, and it's simply transmitting the data from LDI to us, and then really just piggybacking on LDI's program. So I have a little presentation, just some slides that I wanted to be able to show, because you're embarking on the same process. I'm so delighted that we are able together to show real regionalism. We are all dealing with the same issues, and we will look to partner on this and be supportive any way we can to lead you through what the process has been for us and what we've learned along the way. So what you see in front of you is just simply, we started this program as a pilot June 18th, 2025. That's when the council approved the concept of this pilot. We called it the Roof Enhancement Lottery Incentive Fund, RELIEF, and it aims to maximize Fortified Homes grant program, that the $10,000 grants, and increase the success rate and the number of fortified roofs. So RELIEF provides LDI certified lottery grantees in Jefferson up to $5,000 in gap funds, in addition to that up to $10,000 from the state. On the next slide, you just see, it really illustrates what we did in one round. So we did round 7 in September of 2025 is when the applications were coming in. And so this is, by the numbers, what we found. Now, we had a smaller round, and so LDI at the state level said we're going to choose 700 homeowners in the coastal region. So that's less homes than are participating in this round, because it's going to be 3,000, and less parishes, but it was in the coastal section. Of those 700, initially 220 homes were in Jefferson Parish. Then the state vets those to see that they're in good condition, that they have insurance, that it's your primary residence, you have the homestead exemption. So the 200 brought us down to 125 because some of those homes didn't meet those criteria. Of the 125, those were the pool of people we were going to be working with to try to get as many of them as possible to put a fortified roof on their home. And the final result, we're actually down to the last roof that we're working with right now, is that 107 of the 125 are putting the fortified roof, or have put the fortified roof on their homes. And so we saw that it was evenly distributed amongst districts. We had East Bank and West Bank participation. But Councilman Willard, you hit on really the important statistic, was that we knew the program alone, the $10,000 grants alone, had about a 55% success rate and about a 45% failure rate. So again, that's too close to 50-50. So when we added the relief gap funds, we were able to increase the effectiveness of the state's program to 86% success rate, and only 14% that couldn't move forward. And we actually have surveyed the participants too, because we wanted to know, of those 14%, is there something we could have done differently? Is there a reason you didn't participate? And truly some life circumstances. We spoke to one homeowner, for example, who said one of his children lost a job, another family member was ill, and so he just did not feel like he could participate and go through the program at that time. So that's not something we could have changed. The vast majority of the participants gave us just really positive conclusions about the program. So I'll flip through, if you don't mind, just to show you, because I know this will matter to each district council person especially. We have 5 districts, and so you can see in Council District 1, which is the Gretna area all the way down to Grand Isle, 28 homes participated and 21 of them were successful in installing a fortified roof. In Council District 2, 28 homes selected, 25 were able to successfully put on a fortified roof. In Council District 3, which is the area along the river in the Marrero area, again, 15 homes selected, 11 successfully installed fortified roofs. In Council District 4, which is the Kenner, Metairie area, 20 homes selected, 17 successful in installing a fortified roof. And the last, our fifth district, is the Metairie area. 34 homes participated and 33 there, so just one unable to complete it. So a tremendous success rate in that Council District 5 area. So the next slide just sort of recaps that I didn't know how the random selection was going to distribute. And so we were really happy to see that every council member had constituents who were participating and able to bring this program home. This really just shows a little bit of the responses that we've gotten where people were saying it was absolutely critical. Without having the extra funds, I would not have been able to afford this opportunity. The extra $5,000 is just what I needed to complete my roof. The program made the fortified roof program affordable, and it made my decision to go through with the program much easier. So that's the kind of feedback we've gotten. And this is the last slide, just to show that we did ask, did you expect that this would bring down your insurance premium? And that's definitely the expectation. I know it's all of our expectation, and why people are so eager to participate. And then we asked, what did you expect to see, or did you see, in reductions on your insurance premium? And you see the breakdown. The majority of people expecting or getting a $500 to $1,000 breakdown, lots of them in the $1,000 to $2,000 range, many in the more than $2,000 range. And we did have one person report they actually saw a $3,500 annual discount due to the fortified roof.
Wow.
So good statistics. We are really happy with the results of the pilot program. Our challenge now will be moving forward and finding a permanent funding source so that we can do this. But we found it very easy to get the information from LDI on a weekly basis. They had vetted that it was a primary residence, that it was in good condition. They vet the roofers. So, you know, the program I thought was so soundly set up by the state. And then, of course, the money never goes to the homeowner directly. It goes to the roofing contractor. So it's very well thought out, which is why we decided exclusively to just piggyback on their concept. We didn't add any criteria, but I definitely appreciate that the gap funding will matter to some more than others. And so if you're able to successfully integrate a component that looks at, you know, the income level, I would be fascinated to see your results months down the line and see how we might be able to replicate that and work together.
Councilmember, I really appreciate you coming down, and kudos to you and your team for the data gathering. I mean, that was quite impressive. I think I saw Council District 5 maybe had the highest price for a new roof. Is that one of the more expensive places to live in Jefferson Parish?
It's some of the larger homes. So, you know, as we have the data now, we're happy to share that with you. The area where you probably have higher priced homes, logically the roofs were larger, the roofs cost more, and that was the district where we had the best participation because probably a greater amount of income available to do the roof from the homeowners. The least population able to participate is in the Marrero area, where probably more blue collar area and maybe less disposable income. So it definitely speaks to that. We did find the average cost of the roof about $16,000. So when you add that gap funding, it meant many homeowners got a free roof in essence, other than paying the fees they're required to do, or $1,000 to get a roof. And I think my favorite story is when we were calling, our staff was calling the homeowners and saying, in addition to the state, you're going to be eligible for this $5,000 additional in gap funds. And we heard an elderly lady, and I shared this with Councilman Willard, she said, "Thank you, Jesus," and she was so elated. And then when we, explained that the GAP funding was available to her as well, she called her husband to the phone, and he was thanking us and Jesus and LDI. And so we just know how much it matters to people, because particularly if you're on a fixed income, it may be something out of reach to have a new fortified roof on your home. So from our perspective, anything that we can do in sharing data, any questions that you have, we're happy to share anything that we've gathered, so that it makes it open and available to you.
Well, I just really want to thank you for your leadership and really inspiration on this issue. It brought us together to say we need to do something like this in the city of New Orleans. And I believe Orleans Parish and Jefferson Parish are among the top 3, certainly top 5 parishes in pulling down those state fortified roof grants. I think the more saturation we have in Jefferson, the more saturation we have in Orleans, the more saturation we see in St. Tammany, the lower all of our rates get. So this is certainly something that, we're proud to be working on. And hopefully you can identify that permanent source of funding, because from my perspective, it's an investment that's certainly worthwhile and pays dividends for the entire community. Any questions from other council members?
No question,
All right.
but I'd just like to also say thank you. And thank you for sharing this data with us. But it's just great to have you there. It suggests and it shows the regionalism and this approach that we need to take on more issues too. So thank you very much, and our commissioner, for being here.
Absolutely.
That's so very important for people to see us working together, because we have all of the same concerns.
Amen to that. I hope, Councilman, it's the first of many things that we can work together on regionally, because so many of the issues we face are exactly the same.
Yes.
So I'm just coming, I know y'all will appreciate, we're coming from a meeting where we were discussing water rates, and it was a long one. And so, believe me, the issues are very similar, and so regionalism will serve us all well. We're here to help.
Okay.
And I think you pulled an idea from us on that issue, right?
We are, and so we don't need to recreate the wheel.
There you go.
If we can work together and get to solutions, everybody's better off. And truly, we have the bulk of the population, as you pointed out, the bulk of the roofs. So the more progress we can make over the next few years, better for the whole state.
Better for the whole state, I agree. But thank you so much, Councilmember
you.
Van
Appreciate
Brinken. We
it.
appreciate you coming
luck.
down.
Thank you.
All right, members, that concludes our agenda for the day. I want to thank everybody for showing up today. Commissioner Temple, very grateful that you came down from Baton Rouge to join us. Councilmember Van Brinken, thank you so much for coming down. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councilmember Green, seconded by Councilmember Harris. We stand adjourned. Thank you.